Here is the full speech titled, "My beloved brothers and sisters, when we open the book of Allah, the perfect guidance, the eternal speech of our Creator, we find that among the very first social commandments, after the call to worship Allah alone, is this powerful instruction, and your Lord hath decreed that you worship none but Him, and that you be kind to your parents." Surah Al-Isra 17:23. Notice how worship of Allah and kindness to parents are mentioned side by side. This is not a coincidence. This is not just poetic structure. This is a divine placement teaching us that our relationship with our parents is directly linked to our relationship with Allah. He didn't just say be good. He didn't just say don't disobey. He said wa bil walidaini ihsana. And to your parents show excellence. The word ihsan is the highest level of righteousness. It means to go beyond what is expected, to do more than what is easy, to give more than what is comfortable even when it's not convenient for you. And often, when we think of honoring parents, the mind turns to the mother, and rightly so, for she carried us and nurtured us with mercy. But the father, too, holds an honored position that must not be diminished. Allah did not differentiate in His command. Both parents, the one who carried you and the one who carried the responsibility of providing for you, are to be honored with ihsan. When a father is present, he may not express love the way we want it. He may not always be soft with his words, but understand this: he is the one who carried the weight of your life while you were still young and fragile. He is the one who worried when the world was harsh. He may have walked through storms of stress so that you could walk to school without a care. The hours he spent working the jobs he hated, the physical pain he endured, the stress he swallowed, he did all of that so you would never have to. And yet, sadly, we often remember our father's shortcomings, but we forget the mountain of sacrifices he made. We remember the one time he raised his voice, but we forget the thousands of times he raised his hands in dua for us. So when Allah says, "Be excellent to your parents," it includes being excellent to the one who may not have cried in front of you, but who suffered silently to protect you. It includes the father who did not ask for thanks, but who deserves more than just our gratitude. It is not a choice, my brothers and sisters, it is a divine decree. To disobey our father, to dishonor him, to make him feel small, this is not just a moral failing, it is a spiritual failure, and yet in our time many of us have turned the divine command into an option. We serve our boss with urgency, but delay when our father calls. We please our friends, but snap at the man who raised us. We listen to motivational speakers, but tune out the father who prayed for us before we even spoke our first word. But if we truly claim to seek Allah's pleasure, then know, His pleasure lies in the pleasure of our parents, and His anger can lie in their anger. Let that sink into our hearts deeply. Because the one who honors his father, who lowers his voice in front of him, who rushes to serve him even in old age, that person is not just doing a favor to his father, he is doing a favor to his soul. He is investing in the mercy of Allah, and when you serve your father, remember you are fulfilling not just an emotional duty, but a sacred command. My beloved brothers and sisters, when we speak of the noble duty of serving one's father, it is essential that we reflect upon the tremendous role he plays not just as a figure of authority, but as a pillar of provision and protection. A role that often goes unnoticed, unthanked, and unappreciated. You see, a father is not just the man who gave you his name. He is the one who gave you his strength, his time, his energy, and often his peace of mind. From the moment a child enters the world, a father feels the heavy responsibility placed upon his shoulders. He may not cry in the delivery room, he may not cradle the baby with the same tenderness as the mother, but deep in his heart, a lifelong mission begins. I must protect, I must provide, I must not fail. From the very beginning, the father becomes a silent guardian. He steps into the world outside and begins to carry burdens so his family doesn't have to. He goes out into the harshness of life through heat and cold, pressure and stress, sometimes taking insults, sometimes enduring humiliation, just to bring home the means for his family's comfort. There are countless fathers who have never bought new clothes for themselves, who wear the same shoes for years while their children wear the latest fashion. There are fathers who skip meals just so there's enough food on the table. There are fathers who suffer in silence chronic pain in their back, stress in their chest, fear in their hearts, but they do not speak of it. Why? Because they believe, my family needs me to be strong. He becomes a shield, not just physically, but emotionally. When hardship hits, he absorbs the shock so it doesn't reach the rest of the household, and many times that sacrifice is invisible. He doesn't speak of it, he doesn't boast about it, he doesn't post it online. He just does it, silently, consistently, day after day, year after year. And yet, my brothers and sisters, what's tragic is that society often downplays his role. The image of a father has been reduced to someone who just pays the bills. But let me ask you, do you know how heavy those bills are? Do you know the stress that builds up month after month, when the father lies awake at night thinking, how will I make ends meet this time? He does not cry in front of his children. He does not beg for recognition, but every morning he wakes up and goes to war with the world so his family can have peace. He sacrifices his sleep, his dreams, his personal goals, and sometimes even his health, all so you can have a chance at life, a future, and opportunities he never had. And yet, sometimes we look at our father with impatience. We forget that the very roof above our head, the clothes on our back, the education we received, the meals we eat, these things came at a price. And more often than not, he paid that price with parts of himself. And it's not just financial provision. He is also a protector. When you were young, you may not have seen how carefully he locked the doors at night, how often he scanned the street as you crossed, how fiercely he reacted to any threat near his home. But he was always there watching, shielding, standing between you and harm. He might not have always had the words to express his love, but his actions screamed it in every move he made. Even when he disciplines, even when he raises his voice, it is often because he is trying to protect you from the harshness of a world you don't yet understand. It may seem firm, but at its root, it's fueled by love and fear, the fear of losing you, the fear of you losing your way. He doesn't always say, I love you. But he says it every time he fixes the broken door, pays the school fees, works overtime, or gives you the last piece of meat on the plate without saying a word. And so, when we think of serving our Father, let us not make it conditional on his words. Let us not wait for him to ask for help. Let us recognize the mountain of sacrifices he's already made, many of which he'll never speak about, because for a true father, love is shown in labor, provision is protection, and silence is sacrifice. Let us open our eyes before it is too late. Let us appreciate him before he becomes a memory. Let us serve him not because he demands it, but because he deserves it, deeply and completely, through every sleepless night and every unspoken prayer. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the greatest misunderstandings in our time, especially among the younger generation, is the belief that respect must be earned, and that disagreement cancels obedience. But let us pause for a moment and ask, is that truly the way Allah wants us to treat our parents, particularly our father? You see, the command to honor one's parents, to serve them, to speak to them gently, to lower the wing of humility is not conditional. Allah did not say, be kind to them if they're always right, or obey them as long as you agree, or respect them only when they understand your point of view. No, he said, and lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy. Even if you've grown in age, in knowledge, in status, even if you now have your own family, the humility remains. Why? Because they are still your parents. The position they hold is divinely honored, not earned through a checklist of right and wrong. Nowhere is this more tested than with the father who, by nature, may speak less emotionally, may express himself with firmness, and at times may seem harsh in his opinions. And yes, disagreements will come. No family is perfect. He may have a different mindset, a different approach to life. He may come from a generation where emotions weren't spoken out loud, where discipline was the language of love, and where struggle was the norm, not the exception. You may not always see eye to eye. He may not understand your career path, your clothing choices, your views about the world, but none of that gives you permission to dishonor him. It doesn't justify sarcasm. It doesn't justify raising your voice. It certainly does not justify ignoring him, mocking him, or arguing with him in front of others, something we see far too often today. Even when your father is wrong, even when his approach is outdated, or his words are harsh, Islam teaches you to respond not with ego, but with adab, not with pride, but with patience. Look at the example Allah gives us in the Quran when Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, spoke to his father, who was not just misguided but a maker of idols. He didn't scream, he didn't storm out. He said, "O my dear father," again and again, "Ya Bati," with love, with gentleness, with longing, and this is not just any son. This is a prophet of Allah, being commanded to treat a disbelieving parent with kindness and dignity. So what about us? What excuse do we have? There is a wisdom in this, because the moment we believe that respect is only owed to those we agree with, we become slaves to our own arrogance, and family ties begin to break down. The father becomes seen as a burden rather than a blessing, a relic instead of a role model. But that is not the way of righteousness. Even when you think your father is wrong, remember, he is still the man who worried for you when you were helpless, who tried to protect you from mistakes, even if he didn't always go about it the right way. He is still the one Allah placed over you in a position of Qawama guardianship, with responsibilities that come with emotional weight we often don't fully comprehend. And just as we hope for mercy from Allah when we are wrong, let us be merciful with our parents, especially when they are wrong. Let us not confuse disagreement with disobedience, and let us not allow our egos to destroy the respect that is due to the man who has given us more than we may ever truly know. My beloved brothers and sisters, if you were to ask many people to describe what their father has done for them, they might struggle to answer, not because their father did nothing, but because his sacrifices were often made in silence. Hidden, quiet, without announcement, without applause. You see, there is a type of sacrifice that is so humble, so consistent, and so selfless, that it becomes invisible over time. And this is the kind of sacrifice that many fathers embody every single day. From the outside, he may seem like just a man coming home from work. But what we don't see is that he may have been humiliated by his employer, spoken to disrespectfully by customers, or passed over for promotions, and yet he swallowed that pain, kept it hidden behind a tired smile, and walked through the door as if nothing happened. Because for him, the peace of his home matters more than the pain of his heart. He may leave early in the morning while you're still asleep and come back late at night, exhausted not because he enjoys the grind, but because he doesn't want you to feel the hunger he sometimes quietly endures. He bears the weight of financial pressure, the rising cost of living, the hidden debt, the mounting expectations, and yet you'll almost never hear him complain. Because in his mind, complaining is weakness, and weakness is not an option when a family depends on you. His shoes may be old, his shirt may be faded, and his phone may be outdated, but your needs come first. His dreams are deferred, sometimes forever, so that your dreams can come true. And while some fathers are expressive, many are not. Their love is not in words, but in actions so quiet, so routine, that we mistake them for obligations, not realizing they are acts of love in disguise. He fixes what's broken before you notice. He refuels the car without telling you. He watches over you silently when you're asleep, checks the locks again at night, and prays for your success in private, even if he never says it to your face. And these sacrifices, they are rarely posted on social media. There are no photo captions saying, "My father gave up everything for me." No, he doesn't look for likes. He looks for your comfort. He looks for your growth. He looks for you to become better than him. But sadly, it is often only after he grows old, or worse, after he returns to his Lord, that we begin to reflect, how did he do it all? How did he carry so much, and never ask for anything? We realize then that he wasn't just paying bills. He was protecting dignity. He wasn't just enforcing rules. He was instilling principles. He wasn't just sitting in silence. He was absorbing pain so you wouldn't feel it. So many fathers suppress their stress, hide their illness, hold back their tears not because they are emotionless, but because they love you too much to show you the burden they carry. And this is why serving your father is not just an act of kindness. It is an act of justice because there is so much he gave that we will never be able to repay. He may not remind you of what he's done. In fact, most fathers never will, but Allah sees it all. Allah records every sacrifice, every unspoken prayer, every time he gave you his portion and went without. And so, when we speak of honoring him, we are not responding to his words. We are responding to his actions. We are honoring a man who chose to stay up late when you were sick, who took on extra work when you needed school fees, who stood like a pillar when the entire house leaned on him, and even if he says, "I'm fine," know that many times he is not. But he pretends just to protect you, because that's what silent sacrifice looks like. My dear brothers and sisters, in a world where people chase status, success, and worldly recognition, very few realize that the doors of paradise might be closer than they think, and sometimes they are not found in the grand deeds, but in the quiet, consistent obedience to one's Father. Our beloved faith does not leave this matter vague. The Prophet once said, "The pleasure of the Lord lies in the pleasure of the Father, and the anger of the Lord lies in the anger of the Father." This statement is not poetic metaphor. It is a clear and serious truth. It means your Father's approval of you is not just emotional, it's spiritual. Your relationship with him carries eternal consequences. Subhanallah, how many people pray at night, fast during the day, give charity with sincerity, but still fall short because they dismiss or mistreat the man who raised them. How many tongues recite the Quran beautifully, yet those same tongues become harsh or impatient when their Father speaks. Do we not realize that obedience to the Father, especially when it's difficult, especially when your opinion differs, may be the very test Allah placed in your life to elevate you, because true obedience is not proven when it's easy or convenient. It's revealed when it challenges your pride, when it requires humility, when it demands patience. That is where sincerity is shown. That is where paradise is found, and no obedience doesn't mean agreeing with everything blindly. It means fulfilling your duties with respect, speaking with gentleness, and never allowing your disagreement to cross the boundary of dignity. It means listening even when you feel misunderstood. It means serving even when he doesn't ask. It means lowering your voice, not because he's perfect, but because his position is sacred, granted by the one who created you both. Allah, in his infinite mercy and wisdom, has tied your ultimate success not just in this world, but in the hereafter to how you treat your parents. And the Father, often in his silence and strength, is a test of how much we value what Allah values. Many people look for shortcuts to Jannah, searching for extra fasts or additional prayers, when one of the fastest ways to earn Allah's mercy might be in how you respond to your Father's needs, how you speak to him when he is old, how quickly you serve him, and how sincerely you make dua for him. Don't underestimate these small moments when your Father calls your name and you answer quickly, when you help him without being told, when you forgive him for his shortcomings, when you sit quietly just to listen even if you've heard the story before. Because it may be in one of those moments, a moment no one else sees, that Allah opens the gates of Jannah for you. And know this, the door of paradise linked to your Father is not always open. He may not always be here. And once he returns to his Lord, that door begins to close. So before that time comes, take every chance to serve him, honor him, and seek his pleasure, for in doing so, you are seeking the pleasure of the Lord of the worlds. My beloved brothers and sisters, there are two kinds of people when it comes to honoring their Father: those who serve him while he is alive, and those who realize his worth after he is gone. And both will tell you the first one lives with peace, the second one lives with longing. Understand this truth deeply. Your duty to your Father does not expire when his life ends. Service to him is not limited to his presence. His soul, his legacy, his right over you, all of that continues beyond the grave. But before we speak of that, let us begin where most of us are still blessed, to begin with our fathers still alive. There is a powerful blessing in being able to serve your Father while he is walking on this earth. You can look into his eyes, you can hold his hand, you can visit him, support him, comfort him, make him smile. These are not small acts. These are golden opportunities, moments of ibadah, moments that may be weightier on the scales than entire nights of prayer. Do not wait for your father to ask. Most fathers won't. Out of dignity, they remain silent. But the child who understands, the one who carries awareness in his heart, will act without being told. Visit him before he calls. Sit with him before he feels lonely. Support him before he becomes dependent. Make dua for him in his presence, and hug him with love even if he doesn't show emotion. Let your service speak louder than your words. And if he has grown older, and his body has weakened, and his memory sometimes fails, don't see this as a burden. See it as your chance to be forgiven. The Prophet once said, "Woe to him who finds his parents, one or both, in old age, and does not earn paradise through them." This is not just a hadith, it's a warning and a reminder. Because your father in his old age becomes one of the most sacred trusts Allah places in your hands. But life is fragile, my dear brothers and sisters. One day, the voice you used to hear every morning may fall silent. The footsteps you once recognized at the door may stop. The man who never asked for help may no longer be able to stand, and then he returns to his Lord. Now your service continues, but it shifts. It moves from the physical to the spiritual. It becomes a service of the heart, the tongue, and the actions that reach him through the unseen. You serve him by raising your hands in the night and saying, "O Allah, forgive my father, elevate his rank, expand his grave, shower him with mercy." You serve him by giving charity on his behalf, even if it's a small amount, planting a tree, digging a well, building a masjid, sponsoring an orphan. Every drop of water, every shade of benefit will reach him as a gift. You serve him by living honorably, being a righteous son or daughter that he would be proud of, because every good deed you do becomes part of his legacy if he raised you to do it. You serve him by remembering what he taught you, his principles, his values, his warnings, and keeping those alive in your home and in your heart. And you serve him by staying connected to the people he loved, his brothers and sisters, his friends and companions, his old neighbors, his community, those who stood by him in his youth. When you greet them with warmth and kindness, you are not just being polite, you are fulfilling a sacred trust. The Prophet described this as one of the best forms of filial piety, to maintain ties that your father cherished. You see, love for your father should not end with his heartbeat. True love continues long after the funeral. It manifests in loyalty, in remembrance, in ongoing prayers, and in carrying his legacy like a crown, not a burden. The most beautiful thing is, even in your grief, even in your regret, Allah gives you a path forward. Even if you fell short while he was alive, you can still honor him now. Even if your last words to him were rushed or cold, you can still make dua that melts away what was once hard. Because your Lord is merciful, and your father, whether he said it often or not, loved you more than you may ever fully know. My beloved brothers and sisters, we live in a time where saying thank you has become routine. We say it to strangers who hold the door open for us. We text it with emojis. We post it with hashtags. But when it comes to the people who sacrifice their lives for us, many of us stop at the bare minimum, and sadly, that includes how we treat our fathers. Let me ask you sincerely, what does your gratitude to your father actually look like? Is it an occasional Jazak Allah hu khairan after he sends you some money, a polite nod when he gives you advice, a generic gift on Father's Day, followed by another year of neglect? Understand something deeply. True gratitude is not found in words. It is found in your attitude, in your service, and in the way you treat your father when no one else is watching. You see, your father didn't raise you for recognition. He didn't wake up at dawn and work into the night because he was expecting flowers or thanks. He did it because that's what fathers do. But just because he doesn't ask for gratitude doesn't mean he doesn't deserve it deeply and completely. Gratitude in Islam is not just lip service. It's not empty compliments. It is action. It is humility. It is obedience and kindness and service. The Arabic word for gratitude, shukr, means to acknowledge a favor through response, not just through words, but through behavior. When Allah says, "Be grateful to me and to your parents," as Surah Luqman 31:14, He is not just telling you to say Alhamdulillah and move on. He is telling you to show that gratitude by honoring the ones through whom He gave you life. Now let us reflect. When was the last time you truly served your father without being asked? When was the last time you went out of your way, not just with money, but with your time, your attention, your warmth? Because real gratitude is shown in the small, quiet moments, when you bring him his tea before he asks for it, when you sit and listen, even if he repeats the same story for the 10th time, when you help him into the car without rushing him, when you clean up after him without rolling your eyes, when you defend his honor in front of others, even when he's not around. Gratitude is in the way you make him feel valued, especially as he grows older. And don't underestimate the impact of even the simplest acts: a sincere smile, a warm greeting, a gentle "May Allah bless you, Dad." These things revive his spirit, even if he doesn't say so. You might not know it, but sometimes the father who looks tough and distant is the same one who goes to sleep remembering your kindness or your coldness. The one who doesn't say "I'm hurt" may be hurting more than you know. The one who doesn't ask for anything may still wish, quietly, that you would just sit beside him and ask, "Are you okay, Baba?" And don't think that material success replaces emotional connection. Buying him gifts is good, but being there for him is better. You can send money every month, but if your voice is absent, if your heart is distant, if your presence is missing, know that no amount of wealth can substitute for your love. And if your father is no longer alive, then gratitude now becomes dua, becomes charity, becomes carrying his legacy forward, showing Allah that you didn't forget him when the world did. Because if your father spent years putting you first, it's only right that you now put him in your prayers first, before your exams, before your job interview, before your dreams. Say with a heart full of sincerity, "Oh Allah, reward my father for every night he stayed awake worrying about me, for every day he went to work for me, for every burden he carried just so I wouldn't have to." That is what gratitude looks like. Not a sentence, but a lifestyle of honor, a pattern of service, a soul that never forgets the hand that once lifted you up when you were too small to even walk alone. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most delicate responsibilities placed upon us by our Creator is to maintain justice and balance, and nowhere is this more important, more sensitive, and more sacred than in the way we love and honor our parents. It is no secret that the mother holds a special place in our hearts. The Prophet emphasized her status again and again: "Your mother, your mother, your mother," and this is a mercy we all recognize. She carried us, delivered us, fed us, nurtured us, and wrapped us in her love long before we knew what love was. But what often happens, sadly and unintentionally, is that the father becomes overlooked in this equation. Not because he didn't sacrifice, not because he didn't love, but because his love looked different. And so, many sons and daughters grow up showering the mother with affection, praise, and attention, while giving their father only formal respect, or worse, distant acknowledgement. Some people, in an effort to honor their mother, which is beautiful, end up neglecting the rights, feelings, and presence of their father, sometimes without even realizing it. But my dear brothers and sisters, the teachings of our faith are built on balance. Yes, your mother carried you, but your father carried the home. Yes, your mother woke up at night to feed you, but your father woke up early every morning to provide for you. Yes, she gave you her tears, but he gave you his back, his sweat, his silence, his strength, often at great personal cost. And that is why, when the Prophet was asked again, "Then who?" after saying, "Your mother," he said, "Then your father." He didn't say, "Forget the father." He placed the mother first because of her suffering, because of her compassion, but he still honored the father. And in doing so, he taught us a crucial lesson. Don't confuse priority with exclusivity. Honoring one does not give you permission to ignore the other. It is not a competition. It is a commandment to uphold justice, love, and kindness in full, not in fragments. In the modern world, emotions are often loud and practicality is quiet. So the parent who gives hugs and comforting words becomes the one who is praised and loved, and the parent who provides the roof, the food, the protection, the structure, becomes invisible. But as believers, we are taught to look deeper than emotions. We are taught to recognize sacrifice even when it is unspoken. Balance means giving each parent their due, not equal in expression, but equal in honor. It means that when you're buying a gift for your mother, you think of your father too, not out of duty, but out of love. It means that when your mother gives you advice, you listen, and when your father gives you advice, you listen with the same respect, even if he expresses it differently. It means that when your father grows old and quiet, and your mother remains active in your life, you don't forget that he was once the reason you had food on your plate, a bed to sleep on, and a name to be proud of. And balance becomes even more important when tension arises between the parents, whether in divorce, conflict, or silence. Some children take sides, they weaponize their loyalty, they honor one and dishonor the other. But the believer understands the faults of a parent do not erase their rights. Even if your father made mistakes, even if he wasn't perfect, he is still your father. Allah did not say honor your perfect parents. He said honor your parents. Balance is not just in behavior, it is also in dua, in concern, in time, in effort. If you call your mother daily, do not let your father go days without hearing your voice. If you care for your mother's health, ask about your father's health too. If you run to make your mother smile, find ways to bring light to your father's heart as well, even if his face doesn't always show it. Because deep down, he notices. And even deeper down, Allah notices, and he is the most just. So live in a way where your parents never feel they must compete for your love. Let them both feel that they are seen, valued, and remembered not just with words, but with the choices you make, the time you give, and the prayers you whisper at night. My beloved brothers and sisters, we are living in an era that glorifies individualism, a time in which the self is placed on a pedestal where people are taught from a young age, put yourself first, cut off what doesn't serve you, protect your peace at all costs. Even if that means distancing yourself from your own father, this mentality so widespread, so widely praised, has silently crept into the hearts of many believers, and as a result, duties that were once sacred have become optional. Where once it was considered an honor to serve one's father, now it is seen by some as a burden, something to be avoided or outsourced or passed off to others. Our father, the man who once worked from morning to night so that we could have a better future, now sits quietly at home, watching the door that rarely opens. His phone doesn't ring as often. His advice is dismissed with a sigh. His presence is tolerated, not treasured, and all this happens not because he failed to love, but because we have forgotten how to reciprocate it. We have become so absorbed in building our lives that we've begun to erase the very foundation those lives were built on. Many children grow up seeing their father as someone to respect from a distance. But when adulthood comes, and careers begin, and families are formed, and travel becomes frequent, and responsibilities grow, something begins to shift. The father becomes less of a priority. Not intentionally, perhaps, but gradually, silently, until one day we realize we have become strangers to the one who once knew us better than we knew ourselves. He may never say it, he may never complain. He may tell you, "I'm fine, don't worry about me." But in his heart he is wondering, did I raise a son just to be forgotten? Did I build a home only to live in loneliness? And this pain is made worse by modern justifications. We tell ourselves, he's too difficult, he won't understand my life now, he never says thank you, he wasn't perfect. But since when was kindness based on perfection? Since when did Allah allow us to neglect a parent because we disagreed with their opinions? This modern self-centeredness teaches us that cutting off people is strength, but our faith teaches us that forgiveness, service, and humility are greater strengths. We are not told to serve our Father because he needs us. We are told to serve him because we need Allah's mercy, and honoring our Father is one of the fastest ways to earn it. And think, dear brothers and sisters, if we continue down this path chasing the world, delaying visits, ignoring calls, minimizing our connection. What legacy are we leaving for our own children? Because they are watching. And they are learning. The way we speak to our Father, the way we treat him in his old age, the way we prioritize our convenience over his needs, they are absorbing it all. And one day, when we grow old, we may taste what we once fed. This is not a curse, it is the reality of life. Because when honor is not given, it is not returned. The modern world has taught us how to accumulate wealth, but it has failed to teach us how to preserve relationships. It has taught us how to market our talents, but not how to serve our parents. We have apps for reminders, for schedules, for productivity, but we need a spiritual reminder that neglecting our Father is not a small mistake. It is a serious failing, and the greatest tragedy. Many only wake up after the funeral, standing by the grave of a man they forgot to love in life, now pouring tears that he can no longer hear, whispering apologies that came too late. Let us not become from those who honor their Father more in death than they did in life. Let us not wake up only after time has stolen the chance to say, I see you, I thank you, I love you, and I'm here for you. Because regret is heavier than effort, and a day will come when your chance to serve him will end, but your longing never will. My beloved brothers and sisters, every single one of us is writing a story not just with our words, but with our actions, our choices, and the way we treat those who raised us. And perhaps the most powerful story we leave behind is how we honored our parents, especially our father. Because a father is not just a figure in the background, he is a foundation, a compass, a silent pillar holding up the walls of the home, often unnoticed, often unthanked, but always there. And while the world may celebrate celebrities and influencers as role models, in the eyes of a believing child, the truest role model is often the one who walked home quietly after a long day, carrying groceries in one hand and hope in the other. Your Father. The way we honor him is not just a reflection of our character, it is a seed we plant in the next generation. When you serve your Father, your children watch. When you speak to him with love, they learn how to speak to you. When you prioritize his needs, even when it's inconvenient, you are showing them that love isn't just felt, it's lived. The prophet left behind the greatest legacy the world has ever seen, but even he was seen carrying bricks for the masjid, walking in the funerals of the poor, smiling at the weak. And what did that teach his companions? That leadership isn't pride, it's humility. That love is not a statement, it is service. And that legacy is not what you say, it's what others remember you for. So ask yourself, what will your Father remember you for? Will he remember the child who only came when they needed something, or the one who stood by him even in his silence? Will he remember cold words and rushed visits, or the warmth of a child who wiped his tears without being asked? And beyond that, what will your children remember you for? Because if you want to be honored tomorrow, you must first honor today. If you want to leave behind a legacy of mercy, start by being merciful to the man who once carried the weight of your future on his shoulders. We must also understand that legacy is not built overnight. It is built in the everyday moments, calling him before he calls you, apologizing even when it hurts, sharing your life with him, not just your problems, asking for his dua with sincerity and reminding him that his dua still matters, that his voice still reaches the heavens. And when you walk beside your Father, know that you're not just walking with a man. You're walking with a living chapter of your history, a man whose story is tied to yours, a man who shaped your path with his sacrifices even when the world didn't see it. The world may not write books about your Father. He may not be in the news or praised in public, but if you honor him, cherish him, and raise his name in your dua, you are writing a legacy greater than any book, because it is written in the sight of Allah. And even after he is gone, your responsibility does not end. In fact, your loyalty to him is only tested more. Will you still make dua for him? Will you give charity in his name? Will you continue his good deeds, fulfill his debts, mend what he left behind? Because a true legacy is not how long you are remembered, but how deeply you are loved even after you are no longer seen.